With so much of our personal data flowing through the internet today, it has become imperative that we secure it from prying eyes. We have taken a look at how encryption works and its importance in today's world. If you haven't seen the video yet, we recommend you giving it a view before moving further, the link of which you can find in the description. We discussed how we can use certain keys to encrypt information so that unauthorized parties cannot read our data. But what can we do with those keys? They are passed along with the raw data through a cipher. There are some steps we follow in order to scramble the data so that it become unreadable. These steps can also be called encryption algorithms. And today we are going to learn one of the oldest encryption standard, the Data Encryption Standard, or DES in short. Hey everyone, this is Vaibhav from Simplilearn, and welcome to this video on DES algorithm. Let's take a look at the topics we need to cover in this video. We first take a look at what the Data Encryption Standard is. We learn a little bit about its original purpose and its inception. We move on to Feistel ciphers, which is the heart of the DES algorithm. Post Feistel ciphers, we implement its structure in the data encryption standard and follow its top-to-bottom approach. And finally, we look at the future prospects of data encryption standard, followed by a live example of what we can do to further strengthen data encryption algorithms. DES algorithm stands for Data Encryption Standard. It is a symmetric key cipher that is used to encrypt and decrypt information in a block-by-block manner. Each block is encrypted individually and they are later chained together to form our final ciphertext, which is then sent to a receiver.
DES takes the original unaltered piece of data called the plain text in a 64-bit block,
and it is converted into an encrypted text that is called the ciphertext. It uses 48-bit keys during the encryption process and follows a specific structure called the Feistel cipher structure during the entire process. It is a symmetric key algorithm, which means DES can reuse the keys used in the encryption format to decrypt the ciphertext back to the original plain text. Once the 64-bit blocks are encrypted, they can be combined together before being transmitted. Let's take a look at the origin and the reason DES was founded. DES is based on a Feistel block cipher called Lucifer, developed in 1971 by IBM cryptography researcher Horst Feistel. DES uses 16 rounds of this Feistel structure using a different key for each round. It also utilizes a random function with 2 inputs and provides a single output variable. DES became the organization's approved encryption standard in November 1976 and was later reaffirmed as a standard in 1983, 1988, and finally in 1999. But eventually DES was cracked and it was no longer considered a secure solution for all official routes of communication. Consequently, Triple DES was developed. Triple DES is a symmetric key block cipher that uses a double DES cipher. Encrypt with the first key, delete encryption with the second key, and encrypt again with the third key. There is also a variation of the two keys where the first and second key are duplicate of each other. But Triple DES was ultimately deemed too slow for the growing need for fast communication channels, and people eventually fell back to using DES for encrypting messages. In order to search for a better alternative, a public-wide competition was organized and helped cryptographers develop their own algorithm as a proposal for the next global standard. This is where the Ringdial algorithm came into play and was later credited to be the next advanced encryption standard. For a long time, DES was the standard for data encryption for data security. Its rule ended in 2002 when finally the advanced encryption standard replaced DES as an acceptable standard following a public competition for a place. To understand the structure of a Feistel cipher, we can use the following image as a reference. The block being encrypted is divided into two parts, one of which is being passed on to the function, while the other part is XORed with the function's output. The function also uses the encryption key that differs for each individual round. This keeps going on until the last step, until where the right-hand side and the left-hand side are being swapped. Here we receive our final ciphertext. For the decryption process, the entire procedure is reversed, starting from the order of the keys to the block sorting. If the entire process is repeated in a reverse order, we will eventually get back our plain text, and this simplicity helps the speed. Overall, this was later detrimental to the efficiency of the algorithm Hence, the security was compromised. A Fistel block cipher is a structure used to derive many symmetric block ciphers such as DES, which as we have discussed in our previous comment.
Fistel cipher proposed a structure that implements substitution and permutation alternately,
so that we can obtain ciphertext from the plain text and vice versa. This helps in reducing the redundancy of the program and increases the complexity to combat brute force attacks. The Fistel cipher is actually based on the Shannon structure that was proposed in 1945. The Fistel cipher is the structure suggested by Horst Feistel, which was considered to be a backbone while developing many symmetric block ciphers. The Shannon structure highlights the implementation of alternate confusion and diffusion. And like we already discussed, the Fistel cipher structure can be completely reversed depending on the data. However, we must consider the fact that to decrypt the information by reversing the Fistel structure, we will need the exact polynomial functions and the key orders. To understand how the blocks are being calculated, we take a plain text which is of 64-bit and that is later divided into two equal halves of 32-bit each. In this, the right half is immediately transferred to the next round to become the new left half of the second round. The right hand is again passed off to a function which uses an encryption key that is unique to each round in the Fistel cipher. Whatever the function gives off as an output, it is passed on as an XOR input with the left half of the initial plain text. The next output will become the right half of the second round for the plain text. This entire process constitutes of a single round in the Fistel cipher. Taking into account what happens in the polynomial function, we take one half of the block and pass it through an expansion box. The work of the expansion box is to increase the size of the half from 32-bit to 48-bit text. This is done to make the text compatible to a 48-bit keys we have generated beforehand. Once we pass it through the XOR function, we get a 48-bit text as an output. Now remember, a half should be of 32-bit. So this 48-bit output is then later passed on to a substitution box. This substitution box reduces its size from 48-bit to 32-bit output, which is then later XORed with the first half of the plain text. A block cipher is considered the safest if the size of the block is large, but large block sizes can also slow down encryption speed and the decryption speed. Generally, the size is 64-bit. Sometimes modern block ciphers like AES have a 128-bit block size as well. The security of the block cipher increases with increasing key size, but larger key sizes may also reduce the speeds of the process. Earlier, 64-bit keys were considered sufficient. Modern ciphers need to use 128-bit keys due to the increasing complexity of today's computational standards. The increasing number of rounds also increase the security of the block cipher. Similarly, they are inversely proportional to the speed of encryption. A highly complex round function enhances the security of the block cipher, albeit we must maintain a balance between the speed and security. The symmetric block cipher is implemented in a software application to achieve better execution speed. There is no use of an algorithm if it cannot be implemented in a real-life framework that can help organizations to encrypt or decrypt the data in a timely manner. Now that we understand the basics of Fistel ciphers, we can take a look at how DES manages to run through 16 rounds of this structure and provide the ciphertext at the end. Now that we understand the basics of Fistel ciphers, we can take a look at how DES manages to run through 16 rounds of this structure and provide a ciphertext. In simple terms, DES takes the 64-bit plaintext and converts it into a 64-bit ciphertext. And since we are talking about asymmetric algorithms, the same key is being used when it is decrypting the data as well. We first take a 64-bit key plaintext and we pass it through an initial permutation function. The initial permutation function has the job of dividing the block into two different parts so that we can perform Fistel cipher structures on it. There are multiple rounds being procured in the DES algorithm, namely 16 rounds of Fistel cipher structure. Each of these rounds will need keys. Initially, we take a 56-bit cipher key, but it is a single key. We pass it on to a round key generators which generates 16 different keys for each single round that the Fistel cipher is being run. These keys are passed on to the rounds as 48 bits. The size of these 48 bits keys is the reason we use the substitution and permutation bounds in the polynomial functions of the Fistel ciphers. When passing through all these rounds, we reach round 16, where the final key is passed on from the round key generator and we get a final permutation. In the final permutation, the rounds are swapped and we get a final ciphertext. This is the entire process of DES with 16 rounds of Fistel ciphers encompassed in it. To decrypt a ciphertext back to the plain text, we just have to reverse the process we did in the DES algorithm and reverse the key order along with the functions. This kind of simplicity is what gave DES the bonus when it comes to speed, but eventually it was detrimental to the overall efficiency of the program when it comes to security factors. DES have 5 different modes of operation to choose from. One of those is electronic codebook. Each 64-bit block is encrypted and decrypted independently in the electronic codebook format. We also have cipher block chaining, or the CBC method. Here, each 64-bit block depends on the previous one, and all of them use an initialization vector. We have a cipher feedback block mechanism where the preceding ciphertext becomes the input for the encryption algorithm. It produces a pseudo-random output, which in turn is XORed with the plain text. There is an output feedback method as well, which is the same as cipher feedback, except that the encryption algorithm input is the output from the preceding DES. A counter method has a different way of approach where each plain text block is XORed with an encrypted counter. The counter is then incremented for each subsequent block. There are a few other alternatives to these modes of operation, but the 5 mentioned above are the most widely used in the industry and recommended by cryptographers worldwide. Let's take a look at the future of DES. The dominance of DES ended in 2002 when the Advanced Encryption Standard replaced the DES encryption algorithm as the accepted standard. It was done following a public competition to find a replacement. NIST officially withdrew the global acceptance standard in May 2005, although triple DES is approved for some sensitive government information through 2030. NIST also had to change the DES algorithm because its key length was too short, given the increased processing power of the new computers. Encryption power is related to the size of the key, and DES found itself a victim of ongoing technological advances in computing. We have received a point where 56-bit was no longer a challenge to the computers of cracking. Note that because DES is no longer the NIST federal standard, it does not mean that it is no longer in use. Triple DES is still used today and is still considered a legacy encryption algorithm. To get a better understanding of how these keys and ciphertext look like, we can use an online tool for our benefit. As we already know, to encrypt any kind of data, a key is mandatory. This key can be generated using mathematical functions or computerized key generation program, such as this website offers. It can be based on any piece of text. Let's say the word is simply learn. In our example, once the key is settled, we provide the plain text or the clear text that needs to be encrypted using the aforementioned key. Suppose our sentence for this example is "This is my first message." We have satisfied 2 prerequisites, the message and the key. Another variable that goes into play is the mode of operation. We have already learned about 5 different modes of operation, while we can see some other options here as well. Let us go with the CBC variant, which basically means the cipher block chaining method. One of CBC's key characteristics is that it uses a chaining process. It causes the decryption of a block of ciphertext to depend all on the preceding ciphertext blocks. As a result, the entire validity of all the blocks is contained in the previous adjacent blocks as well. A single bit error in a ciphertext block affects the decryption of all the subsequent blocks. Rearrangement of the order of these, for example, can cause the decryption process to get corrupted. Regarding the manner of displaying binary information, we have 2 options here. We can either go with base 64 or the hexadecimal format. Let's go with the base 64 right now. As you can see, the ciphertext is readily available. Base 64 is a little more efficient than hex, So we will be getting a smaller ciphertext when it comes to base 64. Albeit the size of both the formats will be the same. The hex has a longer ciphertext since base 64 takes 4 characters for every 3 bytes, while hex will take 2 characters for each byte. Hence, base 64 turns out to be more efficient. Now to decrypt the ciphertext, we go by the same format. We choose base 64. We copy the ciphertext onto a decryption tool, and we have to make sure that the key we are using is exactly the same. We choose similar mode of operation, and we choose the correct encoding format as well, which is base 64 in this case. As you can see, the decryption is complete and we get a plain text back. Even if you keep everything the same, but we just change the encoding format, it will not be able to decrypt anything. Unfortunately, DES has become rather easy to crack even without the help of a key. The advanced encryption standard is still on top when it comes to symmetric encryption security and will likely stay there for a while. Hope you learned something interesting today. Feel free to ask us in the comment section if you have any questions, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.